So the first command we're going to learn today is what we call polar array. And there's an array is basically just a group of objects. So we have, in this case, repeating triangles and a few different types of arrays. So we're just going to draw our primary object once, our source object. And then in this case, we're going to do what we call a polar array, which is going to put our array into a circle. So we'll begin by opening our millimeter template. Right here. And then I'm going to start just by drawing a few center layer lines. So looking at the example here. See how we have these center lines that go across here and around here? So I'm just going to draw these 4 lines. So I'm in my center layer. I'm looking for my midpoint here. So I got my triangle. And then I'm going to press my Shift button, which is a way to kind of force the ortho mode. You can also, of course, click on your ortho button on here. It's on the midterm. We're going to go all the way across to our other triangle on the other side. And then I'm going to find my midpoint along the top here. So I'm looking for my triangle. There she is. And we'll go straight down. Oops. To our triangle right there. So all I've done now is I've drawn 2 center lines, both horizontal and vertical. And now they're center lines, which should give me a dashed line, but I don't see my dashes here. So just looking at it, we just see what appears to be solid lines. And if I zoom close, really close, I can see that, yeah, there's my center line, my dashed line, which is the line type. So how do we scale this so we can see our line type when we're zoomed out? Who remembers? How do we change the scale of our line type? Very close. So it's a line type scale is what we want to modify, and the shortcut for that is just LTS. LTS. And sometimes this takes a little trial and error, but we know we need to enlarge it, and I usually like to go in factors of 10. So, I'll try 10. If I still don't see it, I'll try 100. If I still don't see it, I'll try 1,000. And then you can kind of fine-tune it from there. But I'll go 10, and that looks good. I'm zoomed out to my entire template, and I can definitely identify these lines as center lines. Now I'm going to have another line that I want to put right down here in my midpoint. So I'm going to draw just a quick scaffolding line here, going from my top to my middle point there, and then finding the midpoint in that. Just going to go straight down like so. Can someone turn off all the lights? It's a little too light there. Sorry about that. So what I did there was I've got this line, scaffolding line that I drew across the top here, and that gave me a midpoint line that I could snap to, and I went all the way down with that. And now I'm done with my scaffolding line, so I'll delete that. And then now I want to draw a symmetrical line on the other side. So I want to copy this line and have it over here. What's the easiest way to do that? Even easier than copy. So the trick here is that once it's done, this is going to be symmetrical. So it's the easiest way to make symmetrical. Mirror, exactly. So I'm going to select my line that I want to mirror. I'll type mirror. And in this case, this center line here is our mirror line. So I'm just going to click on any 2 points. It can be anywhere on this line. And we'll just hit enter. And now we've got our 3 lines. Then looking back at our assignment here, we can see we have two more circles in here, and these circles, one is a radius of 20, and one's a radius of 25. So we'll go circle. I'm going to find my intersection of these two lines here. This one was a radius of 20. Next one was a radius of 25. And then looking at our assignment, we have one more common element in all three of these, and that's this top triangle. So you can see the top triangle repeats on all three. So we'll draw that. So I'll go in my object layer. I think everyone can see this. And a triangle is nothing more than a three-sided polygon. So I'll do POL for our polygon command. We're going to do a three-sided polygon. And then we're going to snap this. Our center point is going to be this lower, zoom out a little bit here. Nope, just have two lines here. So I'm going to snap the center of my triangle to the center line and the inner circle. We're going to inscribe in a circle, and then I'm going to snap to the intersection or a top quadrant of my outer circle. So there's our triangle. Center point is the intersection here, and then the outer point is that top outer circle. I'm going to do a Z and an A. That's going to zoom me all the way out to our template. And then instead of drawing more circles and triangles and all that stuff again, now since we just have this repetitive element here, I'm going to select these three objects. So my triangle and the two circles. And we need to copy those. So I'm going to go CO for copy. And I'm thinking the easiest point to snap to on all of these is this center intersection. So I'm going to grab our source objects from the center. And then I'm just going to snap to this intersection and then snap to this intersection. And hit enter when you're done. The inner one is a radius of 20 millimeters. The outer one is 25 millimeters. Okay, so now we're going to get to our main command for today, which is array. If you forget the command, there's a toolbar right up here for it. There's three different kinds of arrays: rectangular, path array, or the polar array, what we're going to do today. Or you can type in AR is the shortcut for array. So AR, enter, and then it's asking us to select the objects that we want to array. So I've selected my object, I've hit enter, and now it's going to ask us for our array type. So we're going to go over these other types of arrays later, but for now, today's lesson, we're just going to focus on the polar array. Polar meaning circle or around a point. So I'm going to select polar array. And then looking at my command bar down here, it's asking us to specify a center point of the array. So our center point is going to be the center of our circle. So let's click right there. And now we can see it's starting to build our array here. So we have 6 different triangles. And it also brought up this new bar here on our ribbon. And this is giving us a number of different options. So our first is items. How many items? And it's currently set to 6. And sure enough, we see 6 different triangles. So going to our assignment here, counting these, we can see that there's actually 12 triangles that we want to draw. So we're going to go back here, and we're just going to change this 6 to 12. And everything else there looks right. So we're done here, so we're going to just click close our array. So we have our array here, 12 triangles, and we can see that the center point of each triangle goes around our array nicely, and also the tips. Just so happens that the tips of each triangle also touches the outer edge of our outer circle here. So we're done with this first array. Our second array, we can see it's similar, except the triangles all point upwards. So in this one, when it arrayed around, it also rotated the object. So the triangle here on the bottom's pointing down, top one's pointing up. We can see here, all of these are pointing up. So let's see how we do that. So I'm going to move over here to our next one. I'm going to select our triangle. We can type AR for array, or I can go to my toolbar here and just do a polar array. And it's asking me to specify our center point. So again, our center point is going to be the center of our circles. Again, we have 12 items, so we're going to go 12 instead of 6. And we can see over here we have a little checkbox here that says rotate items, which right now is solid. Also looking at our command bar here, we have an option here that says rotate with R-O-T capitalized. So we can click on that, and it's just asking us, do we want to rotate our items, yes or no? Right now it's set to yes. So we're going to change that N for no, or you can toggle it on and off simply by clicking this option here. Then the other thing that we need to do is these aren't rotating anymore, but the center point, if we look at our drawing here, we can see that the center point of each of these triangles is centered along our inner circle here. So looking at my bottom circle here, I can see the middle of our triangle is perfectly centered here on this inside line, but when I look at our CAD drawing, I can see the center's down here when it should be up here. So what we need to do is we need to change what we call our base point, and that's just the point at which the objects are going to be snapped. So we can do that by hitting base point here, or there's we can hit B for base point on your keyboard. So I'll hit B on my keyboard, hit enter, and now it's just asking me to define where my base point should be. And my base point should be right snapped here where we initially drew our triangle. So you see when I click there, now all of my triangles are still pointing up, but I can see the base point on my bottom, base point on the middle. We can see that they're all snapped perfectly to that inside circle. So it looks good. We'll close our array. And now our third and final one. We can see it's very similar to the one we just did, except our base point is now the top of our triangle. So we can see the top of the triangle touches this outer circle all the way around. So we'll click on our triangle. We're going to go to our array again. So I'll do AR for array. we're doing our polar array right here. We're going to specify our center point as our point for our rotation. We don't want to actually rotate the items. We want them all facing upwards. We want to have 12 items instead of 6. And then the last thing we want to do is just change our base point. So I'm going to click on base point, and what we're going to do is set the top of our triangle as our base point. And when we do that, we can see, sure enough, the top of the triangle is touching the top of our outer circle each time. So kind of subtle differences, but you can see those differences and changes make a pretty big difference in your drawing. And you'll find in the midterm will actually be an excellent example of why you need to be able to understand and execute these 3 different settings. Okay, a few more things we need to know for the assignments for today. This next one is kind of a silly command called donut. So it's just D-O-N-U-T. And the way this works is it basically draws really thick circles. So I'm going to start by drawing, so we'll go 15 as our inside diameter of our circle. And then why don't we do 30 as our outside diameter. And you'll notice now I've got this kind of big circle cursor, and when you click, it stamps a donut.
What was the measure?
So I did a diameter. The inside diameter was 15, and the outside diameter was 30.
30?
I think I did 30. So, you just keep on clicking, and it just keeps stamping these donuts. And when you're done, you hit enter. So you want to stamp a few overlapping donuts here, and then we're going to go through, and I'm just going to put them in different layers to demonstrate something else. I'll do a solid one here. So I just put each of these in a different layer. Pretty colorful. Now, this doesn't come in too often in CAD because normally we're dealing with lines, and if lines overlap each other, it's usually not a big deal. It's still legible. But when you're dealing with large solid objects like donuts or especially hatches, and you have things that overlap, sometimes you need to adjust their drawing order. So for example, say this white donut was supposed to be behind this red and blue one. So what I can do is click on it, and then usually I like to click on one of our grip points, so one of these blue squares here. But you'll right click on that, and what we want to do is go to draw order. And in draw order, we have these 2 options here at the top. Those are the ones that we typically use the most, which is either bring to front or send to back. So if this white one was supposed to be behind these other 2 donuts, then I'm going to send it to the back. And now we can see that the white donut is behind this red and blue one. Now say I actually wanted it to be red, white, and then the blue one was actually supposed to be behind the white one. Well, I don't want to move the white one forward because then it's going to be in front of the red one. So what I want to do is send this blue one to the back. So I'm going to right click on that, draw order, and send that to the back. So when ordering, if you have a lot of overlapping objects, you got to spend a little bit of time just kind of calculating which order you need to send things in the back in order for it to come out correctly. And I've got a good assignment on that. Okay, one more thing you need to know. I'll go up here. I have kind of some blank space. And we're just going to draw some text here. So I'm going to run my dtext command. We're going to just set some dtext here. I'm going to make it kind of big. So here I have some sample text, which I've labeled sample text. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see it. There we go. So let's say we want to change the font that text is in. So we've already learned how to change. We know how to change the size. We know how to change the color. But we don't need to know how to do is actually how to change the text itself. And so the way we do that is we go to the style command, which is just st, so short for style. And so far we only have one style here, which is just standard. So typically when we add or change our text, we want to actually create a new style. Otherwise, this will also change our dimensions and everything else. So we want to make sure we create a new style. So I'm going to hit New. And I'm going to call this Impact. So usually when I name my styles, I just name them after the font that I'm going to use. So this will be called Impact. And for the font style, I'm going to choose, you guessed it, Impact. See if I can find it. There it is. And everything else here looks okay, so I'm just going to hit Apply. So this was our text style, and the shortcut for that is just ST for style. And we created a new style. We called it Impact. I'm going to create another one. I'm going to call this Stencil. And let's see if I have here we go, Stencil. So I just created another one that I called Stencil, and for the font, I also chose Stencil. Then I'm going to close this. Now, I can click on my, select my text, and if you right-click on your text, and I usually go to Properties, fastest way to get there. This is actually a window that we'll use quite a bit, so I'm going to just kind of dock it over here. So we can see right now the sample text, move it over a little bit. Sample text, our style is standard. So remember we had standard as the default. When I click on it, we also now have Impact and Stencil. Those are the two that I created. So you can see I can click on Impact, and now it has put that in the Impact font. Or I can click on Style again, go to Stencil, and now it's in my Stencil font. Get rid of this. So any questions on changing fonts of items, custom fonts. Okay, I think that is all you guys need to know. So